People don't know there are video cameras that are attached to the movie camera.
Jodie Foster, Architecture of Thought.
Miserable complicity just disgusts me.
What happened to your sense of humor?
I don't have a sense of humor, and I don't want one.
Jodie Foster is one of the rare actors whose intelligence is visible on screen. You don't just believe the characters she plays. You believe they've been thinking long before the scene starts and will keep thinking after it ends. She went from a 3-year-old in a Coppertone commercial to a Disney child star, 12-year-old in Taxi Driver, double Oscar-winning adult lead who stepped away long enough to graduate from Yale magna cum laude. This is a masterclass on Jodie Foster, not as a celebrity, but as a working actor and director, how she thinks, how she prepares, and what you can steal from her if you care about film acting as a craft. Early life, a brain built for acting. Acting lesson, intelligence is playable. Alicia Christian, Jodie Foster, was born in Los Angeles in 1962. The youngest of 4 children, raised mostly by her mother Brandy, who became her manager. Her mother put her in the Lycée Français de Los Angeles, a French language school. To learn to read very young, became fluent in French, dubbed herself in French releases of her own films. She eventually studied African American literature at Yale and wrote a senior essay on Toni Morrison, graduating magna cum laude. All of that shows up on screen. When Foster plays a character, you see a mind at work. She's not just feeling, she's analyzing, weighing, choosing. Acting lesson. When you play an intelligent character, don't just act smart. Let the audience see you process information under the line, editing yourself, choosing words, changing tactics. Child actor. Work inside the machine. Acting lesson. Professionalism buys you freedom. Foster's first job was a Coppertone ad at 3. By 8, she was on Mayberry RFD and other shows. In the 1970s, she did dozens of TV episodes and family movies for Disney, Napoleon and Samantha, Freaky Friday, Candle Shoe. Her mother treated it like a job, not a fantasy. Jodie was taught to be on time, know her lines, hit her marks and pay attention to the crew. On Napoleon and Samantha, a lion grabbed and shook her. She ended up with scars and a lifelong fear of big cats. For her, acting was never abstract. It was work. Most child actors either burn out or get mannered. Foster didn't. By the time she was a teenager, she was a seasoned technician. Most child actors either burn out or get mannered. Foster didn't. By the time she was a teenager, she was a seasoned technician. Acting lesson, if you're technically solid, marks, timing, continuity, you free your attention for the real work. Listening, reacting, staying truthful. The craft underneath lets you take risks on top. Taxi Driver, discovering what acting really is. Acting lesson, let someone else's process change you. In 1976, at 12, Foster played Iris in Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, a child prostitute in New York. Because of her age, she was evaluated by psychologists and accompanied by a social worker. Her older sister doubled for her in certain shots. Up to then, she thought acting was a kind of dumb job. Say the lines, hit the mark. Robert De Niro changed that. He stayed in character, rehearsed scenes over and over, and eventually began improvising with her as Travis. She's said that was the moment she realized acting could be about building a person, not just reciting words. Look at Iris in the diner. She chews gum a little too aggressively. A kid copying adult toughness. Her eyes keep scanning the room. Street smart, but jumpy underneath. Her jokes come with a tiny pause beforehand, as if she's deciding whether to let this man in. That's layered behavior from a 12-year-old, persona on top, frightened child underneath. Acting lesson. When you encounter a different process, a method actor, an improvisational director, don't shut down, use it. Let it pull you out of saying lines and into building an inner life. Leaving for Yale, testing if acting is worth it. Acting lesson. Let your life get bigger than your career. By 18, Foster had more screen time than most adults ever will. Instead of chasing more, she went to Yale. She threw herself into literature, seminars, and writing. For a few years, she wasn't Jodie Foster the actor. She was a student who sometimes made films on the side. In that space, she decided acting didn't have to be shallow. It could be as serious as anything she was reading if she chose to approach it that way. Acting lesson: if acting is the only thing in your life, your work gets thin. Study something, work a different job. Experience the world. When you come back to acting, you'll have more to bring and less desperation attached to it. The accused: playing trauma without exploiting it. Acting lesson: show how a person survives, not just how they suffer. After Yale, Foster's career could have stalled. Then The Accused arrived in 1988. She plays Sarah Tobias, a woman gang-raped in a bar who then has to fight a system determined to blame her. Producers were unsure she could handle the role. She auditioned more than once and has said she saw the film as almost a last attempt to be taken seriously as an adult actor. The assault sequence was difficult to shoot and emotionally draining. Foster later said she worried she'd done it wrong. Instead, the performance won her an Oscar. What matters is how she avoids turning Sarah into a symbol. Before the attack, Sarah is loud, messy, flirtatious. Afterward, her energy collapses inward, but her anger hardens. In the courtroom, she's not a saint. She's furious, ashamed, and determined, often in the same sentence. Acting lesson: when portraying trauma, your job isn't to showcase pain. It's to honor the character's complexity, their coping mechanisms, bad decisions, humor, rage, denial. That's what makes the portrayal feel like a person, not a case study. The silence of the lambs: Clarice's visible thoughts. Acting lesson: play the thinking, not general fear. In 1991, The Silence of the Lambs gave Foster her second Oscar as Clarice Starling, an FBI trainee sent to interview Hannibal Lecter. Clarice has to be smart, young, vulnerable, and competent all at once. The key is how Foster lets us see Clarice think. In the first meeting with Lecter, she walks past the other cells with rigid posture and forward gaze, professionalism as armor. When she sees Lecter standing calm in his cell, her reaction is microscopic, a tiny flicker of surprise, quickly absorbed. He taunts her accent and background. For a moment, you see embarrassment, a flush, a micro-hesitation. Then her professional mask snaps back into place. Throughout the scene, her body stays very still. The changes all happen in her eyes and her breath, reassessing, choosing what to answer, what to withhold. Only when she's out of the building, alone by her car, does she let herself break down. Acting lesson: don't play scared as one big wash of emotion. Play each adjustment, new information, new calculation, new choice. Let the audience see your mental pivots. That's what makes a character's inner life readable without overacting. Contact, intellect, and awe. Acting lesson: make listening your main action. In Contact, Foster plays Dr. Ellie Arroway, a scientist who hears a signal from deep space and becomes the person chosen to go. The performance works because we believe both her scientific rigor and her emotional depth. When Ellie is listening at the array, Foster doesn't fidget. She sits still, headphones on, eyes searching, every tiny change in sound registering on her face. When the signal hits, there's a small but clear break in her vocal rhythm, a scientist trying to stay calm as her life's work finally happens. Later, when Ellie defends her experience to a skeptical panel, she doesn't beg. She describes what happened as precisely as she can, and only when she talks about the sense of awe does the voice crack. Acting lesson: listening shouldn't be dead time for an actor. Let it be where the real action is. If you give full weight to what you're hearing, the audience will feel your mind working even when you're silent. Director, taste, and longevity. Acting lesson: think like a filmmaker and let your taste do some of the acting. Foster has directed films like Little Man Tate, Home for the Holidays, The Beaver, Money Monster, and episodes of shows like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. She says she loves making movies more than acting in them. She casts for tone and fit, and she thinks of characters as having 3 layers: what they show, what they hide, and what they don't know about themselves. In recent years, she's been selective, taking roles like Bonnie Stoll in Niad and a lead in True Detective Night Country, and stepping into French language work that ties back to her schooling. Acting lesson: if you think like a director, you stop acting in a vacuum. You understand the frame, the cut, the rhythm. And if you're selective, your filmography starts to tell a coherent story about who you are as an artist. What to steal from Jodie Foster? From Jodie Foster, you can steal a few concrete things. Play the mind, not just the mood. Use your life outside acting, languages, study, experiences, as fuel. Make listening active. Build your characters in layers: what they show, what they hide, what they don't know. Care about the whole movie, not just your scenes. And when you take on trauma, honor the person, not the spectacle. Jodie Foster's career shows that film acting doesn't have to be about volume or constant hustle. It can be about thought, about listening with your whole body, about letting your intelligence and your ethics shape every frame you're in. If Robert Duvall teaches us how to disappear into truth, Jodie Foster teaches us how to think inside it and how to let the camera see that thinking without ever once showing off.